This is a quick video on how we did the special effects for our musical Matilda. The hardest effect was the chalkboard with the mysterious writing chalk. A lot of people will do this as a video onto a screen. We wanted to use a real chalkboard. The key of the system is the chalkboard itself is a very thin piece of luan, which is kind of a processed thin piece of wood, almost like plywood. And what we did is we spray painted it with Rust-Oleum's chalkboard paint. I think we used like 3 cans. We put a lot of layers on it, and then we mounted it in a 2x4 frame and painted it up to look like a chalkboard. Added some curtains on the bottom to hide the stagehand. And essentially, the way the system works was using 2 magnets. And I included a picture here of my Amazon order for the magnets, and I just noticed that they are out of stock. But you'll have to find something similar if this is what you do. What we did then is I took a piece of PVC tubing that just fit through the magnet, and I heated the end, and using a pliers made it kind of, after it got a little melty, made it expand a little bit so I could get a really tight unglued fit into that magnet with the PVC pipe. The PVC pipe was then loaded with a spring, and a piece of chalk was inserted. I would usually kind of sharpen the chalk a little bit, and maybe about a ½ inch of the chalk would stand out. I had to kind of experiment with different springs, and to try to get it to work. We changed the chalk every night. And the piece of chalk is kind of painted, but the magnet was painted black and the PVC is painted white. And yeah, we had all kinds of people. How did you do that? But yeah, essentially the stagehand is on the back side writing with the other magnet. And of course, he's writing backwards. So we would write out backwards what he had to do. And it worked really well. And the effect, it was perfect. Everyone was talking about the effect. One of the details I did want to mention with the chalkboard is it does take longer to write, because you can't go too fast or the chalk will fly off. The magnet will lose its connection. The way we were able to time it correctly is during the revolt, the kids start misspelling words, and Matilda misspells a word. Can't remember it offhand what it is. And after we had the actress, after she spelled that word, to kind of zone in on the chalkboard with her mind, per se. And that's when we started writing. So we would have probably the first line written about the time that the kids were like, hey, look at the board. So that was kind of cool, because then the audience is kind of in on it too, that, hey, look at the chalkboard. There's other things going on, trumballs yelling at them and talking about the chokey. But when we did it that way, we were usually writing the last 3 words, run, 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 about the time that the kids were reading run, run, run. So you do kind of have to get ahead of the script to pull it off. The next hardest effect was the tipping of the cup. Matilda used her eyes, I guess, as she says it, to tip the cup over. It happens twice. The first time it tips over, and a newt pops out and gets into Trumbold's knickers. And then the second time, Matilda is showing Miss Honey how she can move the cup with her eyes. The way we did this is the first time I've implemented this process, but essentially we used a little motorized thing that pushed a dowel up through the desk and pushed it over, so the actors had to make sure they set it in the right place. The way we accomplished this was actually I had at one time gutted a remote control airplane that had crashed and was destroyed, but I took all the electronics out of it. It actually was a pretty old one, but it worked great for us. So we just installed the little servo under the desk, and we used the remote control then from off stage. We would test it every night before we went on, and then I would arm it before the desk went on for that scene. And yeah, it worked. It worked actually really well. The cake eating effect was a pretty simple effect, but I'll just go ahead and mention it anyway. What we did is, for the cake, we actually had pieces of sponges that we had spray painted brown. Um, and we put them on a desk that we had modified the desktop so that there was a hole in it. And then the character of Bruce, as they were eating the cake, would squish the sponges into their mouth, essentially, kind of. And then they would either put it down the hole that we had made, or they would just throw it into the desk. And then additionally, we had a little cup there with some brown makeup. So occasionally they would dip a finger in it, and when they went down to eat the cake, they would actually smear the brown makeup on their face to make it look like it was chocolate frosting. And again, we were really happy with how this effect turned out. The hardest piece to engineer for Matilda was the swings, and we really wanted to use really long swings and just hang them from the fly system we have. The problem with that, and I think that's going to be a problem with most fly systems, unless you have a really, really, really nice one, is the weight differential. So fly systems in general are balanced, and we were adding 4 kids to ours. So that's really pulling on the clutch of the fly system, and we just deemed it not very safe. So what we ultimately did is, you can see in the picture and videos here, is we put 2 posts, one on either side of the 4 swingers, and that actually supports almost all the weight of the swings and the kids. So we still had it in our fly system, and so we could quickly bring it in, but we had to roll out and then wait. We had these posts weighted on the sides of the swings, and that kept the fly system from moving, and then it also supported the weight, so we weren't adding all that weight into the fly system. Again, it worked really well. I had hoped it would work a little better, and we could really have some really long swings, and these kids could really swing out into the audience maybe a little bit, but in the end, this is what we had to go to keep it safe. Well, that's it. Matilda is a great show, especially if you have a lot of kids that you have in your community theater. The audiences liked it, and the kids really, really liked putting it on. So I highly recommend it.